Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Z. I'm a clinical psychologist specializing in transgender care. Welcome to my channel. I noticed some of you have been asking me in the comment section whether you realize that you identify as transgender and you feel that right now where you're at in your life, gender transition is something that you feel is not really worth it. You feel that perhaps you just don't have the capacity to go through it. And some of you are asking me whether that's okay to do, whether that's a viable choice, and asking me whether not going through gender transition in any way negates the fact that you are transgender. So this is the topic that I want to explore today and discuss, and this topic that usually I see tends to be coming up around people who are a little bit older. I would say probably ages 50 and up versus younger people. But if you're younger and you're watching, by the way, remember my videos are for adults only, but if you are 18 and up and watching this also could be something that could be helpful to you. So let's talk about gender transition and this idea that sometimes people have this false idea that because you identify as transgender, gender transition is mandatory. That is not true. Gender transition in no ways is mandatory. Gender transition currently, as we know, is the best option that we have for transgender identified people in order to alleviate or all the way get rid of gender dysphoria for people who are struggling with it. It's basically the best option of a treatment that we do have for individuals. In no way being an option, that means that that's a mandatory for people to go through, especially if you are older, especially if you are in a point of your life where you have been struggling with gender dysphoria all of your life, and you realize that perhaps you have developed coping skills that maybe not the best, but they're maybe not as destructive, and you realize that where you're at in your life, that for you to go through gender transition may potentially, in view, bring you more distress, more pain than not transitioning altogether. If you decide to do that, that is completely okay to do. You can decide anything, let me phrase it differently. You can decide what's best for you to go through in order to alleviate gender dysphoria. It's good to talk to a specialist because they can outline for you different options of that. But it's ultimately for you to decide whether gender transition is for you, whether it is a right option for you at this point in your life, and what aspects of gender transition you would like to go through, because gender transition is not a linear process. People tend to decide which aspects of gender transition they want to undergo. So it's very subjective and it's deeply, deeply personal. So I have seen a lot of people who are older, who I work with, who just don't feel that it's something that will benefit them in terms of really alleviating gender dysphoria, or feel that perhaps it's too late for them in their life, or feel that it's just not something they have resources or capacity to go through. And that's their decision, and I will support their decision 100%. I may have personal opinions, I may have personal views of how important the true authenticity is for a person, yet at the same time, I will respect the context and the situation that the person is in. And you have to respect the context and the situation that you find yourself in. So if you find yourself in a situation where you identify as transgender, there's no question about your gender identity. It is more about whether it's the right thing for you at this point in your life. And if you genuinely feel that it's not, it's okay not to go through it. And in no way does it negate the fact that you're transgender. Maybe you have found other ways to alleviate your gender dysphoria in between without really going through medical or surgical transition. And maybe that could be you're open to people around you, and they know that that's part of your true authentic identity without you really presenting it that way. Or it could be that you find ways and times where you engage in feminizing or masculinizing yourself and you enjoy it. Or it could be that you bring the feminine energy or masculine energy in other forms of expression or role presentation in your life, and that works for you and that satisfies that part of you and tends to alleviate gender dysphoria. for a lot of people who are struggling with severe gender dysphoria, a lot of times gender transition becomes something that inevitably ends up saving your life. It's end up something that you, in a way, almost have to go through in order to alleviate the distress that you're feeling. And then again, there's those people who don't feel that way, who feel that it's maybe not the best option for them at point in life. Again, they tend to be older, in my view, versus younger individuals. They tend to be people who have been coping with it all their lives, and as a result found the ways to really deal with it in their own personal way, whether it is destructive or just maladaptive, but it's something that works for them, and it's your own decision, and you have to always find what works best for you. Gender transition ultimately tends to be there for people in two categories. One is to alleviate the gender dysphoria that they feel because they cannot alleviate in any other ways, or there's nothing else that they can modify about their gender expression or role, and there's this incongruency, especially with the biological sex, is so strong that you have to go through gender transition. And two, where it is such an authentic aspect of who you are, that you really also feel that you need to go through it. Other than that, it's never even in those realms, it's not mandatory. It's never mandatory. It's always a personal choice, always a personal decision. Don't ever feel that anybody needs to tell you that you have to go through all elements of gender transition, or that you have to achieve the whole congruency of opposite sex, if that's what you perceive gender is. Don't believe anybody. Really trust your feelings and trust what you feel about dysphoria. A lot of people these days go on hormones, go through maybe one or two surgeries, don't go through genital surgery, don't feel like they need to go through genital surgery, don't feel like that's going to alleviate any gender dysphoria that already haven't been alleviated by these other methods. So as a result, it does not make those people any less transgender at all. It just makes them a person who has decided how far they want to take transition for themselves in their life, and only they know what's best for them. It's always easy to judge a person on the outside and say that you're not really a trans woman because you still have penis, you never got bottom surgery, or you're not really trans man because you still have vagina, you never got bottom surgery, or you're not this or you're not that. It's very hard to really know what the circumstances or the environment for that person is. It's really hard to know what accessibility to resources for that person is, or whether that person just feels very comfortable with their genitals, period. So always do what's best for you. It's not the way people perceive it in this very black and white. The transgender means going extremely from one binary into another, and you have to do everything to achieve that. For a lot of you, yes, that is the case, and that's okay. For a lot of you, that is not the case. So again, evaluate your life, evaluate where you're at, evaluate how whatever it is you're going to decide to do in small steps, how that's going to alleviate dysphoria. If it alleviates dysphoria, great. If you feel like you need to do something else, do something else. If you feel like you've reached a point where you feel comfortable, then you reach the point where you feel comfortable. Allow yourself and give yourself permission to decide how to navigate this path for yourself, to decide how to navigate this. Use providers such as myself and other providers in your area, and medical providers and other people who specialize in this field, as a way to help you stay informed and to help you navigate things. But always think for yourself, because we don't know what your life is like. We don't know what you're struggling with. We don't know what your context and your circumstances are, but you do. So always guide it from that perspective. So hopefully that helps you clarify. For some of you who've been asking me that, comment below, let me know if this is something that you have experienced. If you were wondering if it's in any way negates your gender identity, I always read your comments. By the way, at least at this point in my life, I'm reading every single one of your comments, and I'm commenting to all of you. This is how I stay not only engaged, but this is also how I stay informed on topics that most tend to create anxiety, create taken feeling inside of you, topics that you're the most interested in, topics that you need information on. So do comment below. I always read your comments, and let me know how you've been dealing with this, whether you have given yourself a full control of navigating your gender transition and deciding for yourself what would be best. And I'll see you guys all next time. Bye.